Hello, my name is Gabriel Rodriguez, and I'm very excited to be here presenting for Calling Startup Week. I really hope my talk brings a lot of value to all of you. My talk is about marketing versus branding, and is it even a battle? So I've seen a lot of companies use these concepts, and a lot of companies know what these concepts are, but I've seen a lot of people use them incorrectly and end up spending a lot of money in them, and some I have seen their businesses actually go down very bad when actually these two concepts should be actually helping your business to achieve more sales. So my name is Gabriel. I love solving problems through design thinking. By trade, I am an industrial designer, but very early on, I noticed that you might have a great product or a great service, but it is really worth nothing if it is not launched or presented to the client in the best way possible. So over the last 7 years, I've been helping brands through my design agency, Joy Design Agency. I have been helping clients really find their brand and create marketing strategies that actually get customers. And I am also a musician and I love outdoor adventures. So if you want to talk about any of this, I'm very open to talking to everybody, honestly. So yeah, it's very exciting to be here for Calling Startup Week because of that. The talk is divided in three parts. First, I'm going to be defining each of the concepts. Then we're going to go over the interaction of those two concepts. And then I think the most value of the presentation is on how to use them and how to invest in them. So yeah, stay tuned for that. So what is marketing? Marketing is everything you do so people find you. So it's your online presence, is every brochure you have, any influencer. All of these are tactics to get people to your company and to attract them to your company. So it is really becoming visible at the right time, so people is attracted to you. So as we see here, we're going to be using an example of a pet store. So what happens when somebody sees these images and say, oh, this is so cool, this is so cute, okay, I want to see more. So marketing becomes an experience. One of the biggest concepts in marketing is that you have to build trust with your client before they actually make a purchase. So every point of contact, every time somebody sees you on Instagram or they see advertising from you, you are working on that trust. So at the end, you can actually achieve a sale through any media that you have. So this brings us to branding. What is branding? So branding is the soft part. So branding is what makes you you. And this is a very broad concept. But if you have a pet store, most likely you love pets, right? But you have a way of seeing things that is different to the rest of the companies. So you will propose products and you will propose an aesthetic, a look and feel that is different than everybody else's. Your message might be different, right? It is different, a pet store that sells fun costumes than a pet store that only sells things for baiting dogs, right? So you'll have a way of communicating, and that's what branding is that feeling, that message that you're providing to your client, and eventually this creates trust. So I bet you're starting to see some connection here. So the last thing I have to say is that branding is about perception. So it's very instinctive. When you have been seeing those images, you get a feeling, you get an instinctive reaction to them. And that is really what a brand is an instinctive reaction to something you see or to a message you hear. And it's also very circumstantial. It really depends on where you see it, where you get that message, and when. So you get it in the way that it is intended. So that's where things start mixing. So is it even a battle? Actually, no, it is not a battle. Marketing and branding should go hand in hand. So how do they interact, right? Well, the way I see it is that branding is this core that creates a connection, right? It's, as we say, it's this instinctive reaction that we feel connected to. So branding has the purpose of connecting your business to people, while marketing is this magnetic surface that is attracting everything around it to bring it to your core. So what happens? That without marketing, you're hard to find. If you only have branding, you might have a great personality. People might react very well to what you are offering, but if you're not getting your word out there, you're hard to find. But the opposite also happens. If you don't have branding, you don't create a connection with your client. And this is very important because that's what creates loyalty. So the perfect mix generates the most sales. And we're going to go over this right now. So how did you create that? How did you get to a mix of your personality and getting your message out there for people to come to you? So we have 4 stages. The first 2 are more related to branding. The second 2 are more related to marketing. But at the end, all of this process achieves something, and it's get more clients, drive sales. So first, you have to find what you stand for. You really have to spend some time, and this is perhaps like the shortest phase of them, but because a lot of us, we already know why we're doing the business that we're doing, but it is very usual that I talk to people and they say, well, because I want to sell this. And yes, that is valid, but sometimes it really helps you, and it will really help you stay excited about your business if there is a reasoning, right? If you love pets and you create a pet store and you really enjoy being around pets, well, that's what you stand for, right? And what more is behind there? So you have to have really deep conversations about what's your purpose. Second, you start creating value, because once you know your purpose, you start creating something that other people will value. And this is very important, because if you want to drive a sale, if you want to get money from people, you have to give them value. But the most important part here is not only creating the value, but is finding out who values the things that you are creating. So you have to really go out there and spend some time finding who sees value on the things that you're selling, on the things that you're creating, so so you can communicate. And this brings us to the next phase, which is be where they need you. So once you know who you're communicating to and what you're communicating to them, it will be very easy to kind of find where you need to be, right? So, but here anyway, you will need to do tests. You will test platforms. You will test with different things. And during all this time, try not to harm the way people react to you. Try not to harm the perception that people has of your business. So you have to explore and find those ideas and test those ideas and adapt them if necessary. So at the end, you're available. And the very last stage is deliver your message. But this is actually the hardest, because you have to go through all the other stages to really create value, find who values that, and be where they need you to be. So that way you can deliver that message in a specific moment and be very efficient with creating your sales. So you have to stay true to that identity you have created, right? So how much do you spend and when do you spend? So we have created this graph, and on one side we have effort and money, and then on the other side we have time. That time is basically the time of the company, the lifetime of the company. And the effort, it goes from 0 to 100, because I cannot really tell you how much money you're going to be spending or how much time you're going to be spending on each one of these phases, but you will get an idea of how this works. But before we go in, let's talk a little bit about what happens if you don't use them both, right? So if you only use marketing, as I was saying before, you don't create a connection. So you have to be always pushing the sale. You always have to be offering a discount, offering ads everywhere, so you lure the client, and then they might not create trust. So you're going to be spending a lot of money all the time just bringing the customer. That's good if you can afford just spend the money, but there is better ways to do it. And then on the other side, we have branding, which if you only spend time figuring out who you are, but you never market yourself and you never save any money to really put your product out there, your company might not last too long, because you are not bringing people into your business. Nobody's buying. So it is really a mix of both of them. So let's go back to our strategy and how do we invest in this? So we'll divide it in the same stages. Find what you stand for. So this is the shortest phase typically, because when you're creating a business, especially with startups, there is actually a drive behind it of, well, you know, I'm very excited for this because, you know, I've worked with pets my whole life and I really want to do this and sell products that really make a difference. So here is where you have those deep conversations. Sometimes it takes time, don't get me wrong. Sometimes it takes a lot of time to figure this out. But once you do that, you start creating value. So when you start creating value, your marketing curve starts going up, because what you're doing in this stage is you're spending on pilot customers, you're spending on talking with your customers and figuring out what is the value that you are creating for them. I see a lot of companies that are in this stage, and they stay in this stage for a long time because they don't really end up finding, or they don't open up to the client to hear the client and see what value they are creating actually. So once you find out what value you're creating, things intersect a little bit, and they intersect because once you know who that person is, you have to do a lot of tests. So your branding at this point should be done because you know how you are creating the value for people. So you already know who you are and what you bring to the table. And next up, you have to spend more on marketing in placing it. So you have to do all of those tests where you go on different platforms and do different advertisements, etc. So you actually get to a point where you are where they need you to be. When you are where they need you to be, it's just time to deliver the message. Don't get me wrong, there will be tweaking. You will always need to be working on branding and marketing after that, especially if you're launching new products. But the idea is that at the point that you're delivering your message, you shouldn't have to tweak your branding anymore. You know what value you are creating for your customer. So even launching new products becomes a little bit easier because you know already who values you and what's your market and where to be and where do they need you. So at this point is where a lot of the big companies that you will remember their names are right now. So if you think of Coca-Cola, if you think of Apple, if you think of Nike, they are all at the point where their brand is well known and they don't need to do much marketing. They don't need to do much advertising. Actually, sometimes it's even done for them for free, where you see products in movies and things like that. So it really takes time to deliver a message to get to that point. Sometimes it takes 20, 30 years. But you can really work in this initial phase to get your product where it needs to be. So it creates an image and people are attracted in buying your product. So what do you do now? Because I know this is very complicated and actually I could stay talking about this for the whole day, but there is two specific things that you can do. First is find which stage are you. As I said, you have to be very clear with yourself on knowing, hey, do you know really the value that you're creating and who you're creating it for? There is tools to do this. For example, you can look at your website and see if you have on your website analytics, if you know who's your client, right? You can look for where they're coming from and you can look for all these small details. And there is a lot of ways to find what stage you are in, but you really have to look for who is valuing what you are doing. If you know that, maybe you're in that stage. If not, maybe you have to look a little bit further. And then the second part is find people who can help you reach the perfect mix. There is a lot of people out there that wants to sell you advertising, right? You know, if you trust Facebook, the only thing they want you to do is buy and buy and buy more advertising. But you really have to find people, friends, and, you know, really get into the mood of being curious about who values your product, who values your service, and why they're valuing it. So you can be where they need you to be and you can be in the market in the correct way. So yeah, with this, I will leave you. I can talk with all of you. Honestly, I really want to talk to people about this and teach you more about this. So if you have any questions, please go to this link and contact me. And yeah, we'll try to answer your questions as much as possible. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you keep having a great For Calling Startup week.